3, Industrial Psychology Part 2, whatever, running the workplace. Right? So today we're going to sort of pick up and run with some things that we learned previously. And that is that previously we had learned about criterion, okay? Or predictor, a rephrase that we didn't learn criterion yet. We're about to learn criterion. We learned predictors, okay? Predictors are used to predict a criterion. That is, the SAT score that a student receives when they are in high school is a predictor that is used to predict what a college GPA will look like, okay? So predictors and criterion. Now, criterion, and there's many, many criterion in the world. It depends on where you're at. But 95% of the time in the world of IO psychology, when you say criterion, you mean job performance. Okay? So when we want to hire a new individual, we will set up a battery of predictors in order to attempt to predict the criterion, or better yet, predict job performance. Okay? And so as we come across repeatedly in this course, and in all of psychology, we have these hypothetical constructs. Remember, hypothetical constructs are, we treat them as though they're nouns, but they don't have tangible existence. Because, a noun is a person, place, or thing. Okay, that is your grammar lesson to the day. And so job performance is used as a noun, but it is neither a person, a place, or a thing, okay, because it doesn't exist. So we have to define it in order to work with it. And if you ask 500 people to define job performance, you're probably going to get 500 different answers, okay? So different ways that job performance has been operationally defined has involved things such as time to complete a training course, number of units produced per hour or something, total days absence, maybe how many sales you've created, promotion in an organization. I mean, there's so many different ways to define job performance, but they're all flawed in some way or another. Time complete training. Guess what? If somebody's incredibly busy with all the other things that they're doing, it might take them a long time to complete training. Okay? Number of pieces produced. Yeah, I worked in a factory one summer. I do not recommend it. But it was very clear that there was different equipment. Some of the equipment produced faster, some was better, some was smoother. And depending on which piece of equipment you were on would really clearly influence your performance. Total days absent. Yeah, clearly excused versus unexcused. What do I know? Total value of sales. Things like this. I did work one summer also for RGIS, the Retail Grocery Inventory Service, I think it was. And we would go into different companies and we would produce, a report of their inventory, everything that they had in their store. And of course, this was being used to attempt to address theft, loss of product in various ways. Okay, and so clearly we were judged. That is to say, we would get bonuses if our rate of scanning, because you'd scan products and then the value. And if the value of the products you scanned was higher than this amount, you get a bonus. And it was such a stupid system. I mean, I like the idea of incentivizing faster performance in an employee, but it would depend on which area of the store you were assigned. If you're assigned to inventory cigarettes, here's a carton of cigarettes, $20. Well, it's not, it was then, okay? And you got something like cigarettes, you are just bam, bam. But if you get, you're going to, your job is to inventory candy bars. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? 50 cents. Again, they used to be 50 cents. And so it was so clear that whoever got assigned to cigarettes gets a bonus and whoever got assigned to candy bars gets no bonus. All right. It was really straightforward. Okay. So the idea being, no matter how you define job performance, heck, again, this is a big, no matter how you operationally define any hypothetical construct, there will be issues in the definition. Okay? So, Campbell has put together a model of job performance, which is pretty clean. I like it. It comes from learning theory. We're going to talk more about learning when we come to training. But the idea is, over on the left side, we've got declarative knowledge plus procedural knowledge. That is, your ability to perform the job is kind of what these two are. Take your ability to do the job times motivation. We have an entire topic on motivation. So take your ability times your motivation, and then you get job performance. But as we can see, ability to do the job is a function of two separate things. One being almost like specific knowledge, and the other being, a general critical thinking ability or something like that. So it puts these two together, all right? And so the things that feed into this model would be, your actual ability, your personality, your interest, your education, your training, your experience, etc. Well, Campbell took this model and he actually, and it's real clean in this way, and we can't forget this, ability to do job times motivation to do job equals job performance. But he broke it down more and said, okay, if you take a look here, declarative knowledge are just facts, right? That's really what that word means, facts. Procedural knowledge, and he breaks this down into two clearly distinct areas. Some procedural knowledge and skills is common to all jobs. That is, personal discipline. Yeah, some people have more discipline than others. Some just demonstrate more effort. Some people would put into a task just work harder, okay? Proficiency on this specific task. So these are elements of the procedural knowledge that would occur in every job. Over on the right are elements that are involved in procedural knowledge and skills that wouldn't be present in every job, but would be present in some jobs. Okay? And so here we've got a longer, better description of all of these different components of job performance model. Okay? Moving on to a little bit more, when we come to job performance, we have to make a clear distinction between typical job performance and maximum job performance. Now, maximum job performance is the maximum amount that you are capable of. And maybe you'll remember way back in Module 1, we discussed a little bit about the Hawthorne electric plant and the Hawthorne studies. And if you recall what happened in the Hawthorne studies, and again, there's a lot of details to it, but the gist of the story was that when the employees in the factory knew that they were being watched, their performance increased. When they knew they were not being watched, their performance decreased. And so in some kind of a way, you could say, if you want maximum performance from an employee, watch them closely, monitor their every move. That doesn't sound like an effective solution in the long run, but I mean, that's kind of what it came down to in the Hawthorne studies. So maximum job performance is 100% effort, but typical job performance might be like 70. So obviously an employer wants 100% effort, but if a worker does 100% effort for 8-hour shifts 5 days a week, your worker is going to end up in the hospital and sick. Okay, so you can't do it for long periods of time. In fact, Hermann Ebbinghaus, way back, one of the early memory researchers, found that if you want to have 100% performance, you need to have small increments. So you can give 100% effort for 20 minutes. Take a break, and then 100% effort for 20 minutes. Take a break. And so what Hermann Ebbinghaus showed was that you might start a task at 100% effort, but because of things such as fatigue and boredom, your performance will go down, down, down the longer you persist at a task. Okay? So frequent short breaks in a factory would be a very beneficial thing to the company. Okay? So there's been lots of research on how to, those factors that influence whether or not an employee will exhibit maximum job performance. So goal setting theory, we're going to get to that when we get to motivation. Low confidence undermines maximum performance. When it's complex, important, etc. So there's lots of different factors that lead into typical versus maximum performance. Okay? So here, Bartram put together a model of job performance, and it is incredibly broad. Again, as I said, job performance is a hypothetical construct, needs to be operationalized, and yeah, and we're going to discover in different modules that elements of job performance can be not just things such as producing products, but it also can be things like teamwork. Do you help the other people near you to improve their performance? Are you a backbiter? Do you stab people for opportunities? Okay, so we're going to find that job performance can be pretty complicated. Okay, well, Bartram argued that there are these 8 areas that job performance can be exhibited, and he says that these 8 ways that job performance can be exhibited are strongly related to the Big 5 personality factors. If you remember, the Big 5 personality factors are, remember, OCEAN, O-C-E-A-N, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. That's it, those 5. And so you find here that with these different competencies or elements of job performance, that there is connections to, and so it's implying some things that are, it creates some situations that are somewhat problematic, and it goes back to some conversations we had earlier when we talked about predictors, and one of the biggest predictors that is used is personality tests. And here is essentially the logic of why personality tests are used as a predictor, because if you have a job that requires, let's say, a lot of creating and a lot of creativity and conceptualizing, you're going to want to have somebody that is perhaps scores high on openness, okay? So one of those Big 5 characteristics, somebody that scores high on openness, you would predict that their job performance would be high in an occupation where job performance was primarily defined based on creativity. Okay, so that's kind of the logic to it. And I kind of like it, but the problem is IO psychologists aren't really trained in personality testing, and so these things get misused, but I can understand the logic. Okay? All right, sounds good. We'll talk more on criterion in the next video.